Hello, my name is Chessy Artika. I'm a student at the University of Muhammadiyah Banjarmasin, and now I'm gonna give a review about Introduction to Linguistics class. And here's some note that I wrote about what I have learned from the Introduction to Linguistics class. So, Introduction to Linguistics class is a study about human language. In linguistics, we learn about what is a language acquisitions, language trends, and how human brain works, semantic, etc. According to Cambridge Dictionary, language is a system of communication consisting of sounds, words, and grammar. Language is also the way that someone speaks or writes, for example. The kind of words and phrase that they use. In a simple way, language is a way that help us to communicate with others and share our ideas or truths with others. There are so many languages in the world, and people who learn language is called linguists. Alright, let's dive into the matter. So there's textual and contextual. What is it, and what's the difference between those two? The difference between textual and contextual is textual is analysis that focus only in the text itself. For example, I want to buy a book. When we read or see this text, we could get that I want to buy a book. That's it. That's the end. We didn't get anything from it. But it's different when we talk about contextual text. When it comes to contextual, why? Why is it different? Because contextual is analysis focus on the surrounding conditions and environment in which the text was written. For example, I say, I want to eat a pizza. In contextual, my statement, we might ask a lot of questions based on my statement, like, when are you gonna eat the pizza? Or with who are you gonna eat the pizza? And what kind of topping do you like for a pizza? Some things like that. That's the difference between textual and contextual text. Next, we move to language acquisitions. Language acquisition is a process of building the ability to understand a language and using it to communicate with others. It could also refer to how children gain the ability to understand a language and speak using language. There's a lot of theory about language acquisitions, but I'm gonna tell 3 theories about language acquisitions. The first theory is universal grammar by Noam Chomsky. In this theory, it says that the human brain contains a limited set of constraints for organizing language. This implies in turn that all language have a common structural basic. The second theory is the native theory. The native theory suggests that we are born with genes that allow us to learn language. Language is native, natural, and innate to human beings. Every child is born with a built-in device acquiring language. And the third theory is behaviorist. According to behaviorists, language is learned through environmental conditioning, imitation of adult models. Children learn language based on behaviorist reinforcement principles by associating words with meanings correct. Future ones are positively reinforced when the child realizes the communication values of words and phrases. When humans try to learn a language, we may face some problems, or we know as language disorder, or language impairments, are disorders that involve the processing of linguistic information. Problems that might be experienced can involve grammar, semantics, or other aspects of language. Language disorder can also affect both spoken and written. Language disorder can also affect sign language. Typical all forms of language will be impaired. Language disorders tend to manifest in 2 different ways. Receptive language disorder, where one cannot properly comprehend language, and expressive language disorder, where one cannot properly communicate their intended message. In linguistics, we also learn about signs. We learn about signs that have a communication factor in it. For example, the white lights in traffic lights. It means that we have to stop. It shows that we are able to understand the sign itself. And how sound is produced by humans. In humans, voice is produced by the larynx. Our voice box, larynx, is present near the upper end of the windpipe. Two vocal cords present across the larynx ridge in such a way that it leaves a narrow space between them. For the passage of air, when humans speak, the muscles of in larynx get stretched and the opening becomes narrower. When air is made to pass through the slit, the vocal cords vibrate. With more tightening of vocal cords, vibration in it increase and hence higher volume and the sound is produced. We also study about which human brain part that is responsible for language acquisitions. Wernicke's area, located in the cerebral cortex, is the part of the brain involved in understanding written and spoken language. The match to this area result in receive aphasia. Next, we are going to talk about language change. Language change is the main concern of historical linguistics, sometimes also called diachronic linguistics, which seeks to explain how language changes over time, or language adapt to meet the changing context and needs of their speech communities. It means language is dynamically and gradually changing. Language change is also regular and systematic. Why language even change? Well, language change because they are used by human beings and not used by robots and machines. Language change through inevitable is not a steady a language. My experience later changed for many generations and then undergo dramatic change in the course of just a few little lifetimes. So the main factor of language change is human as its users. Many changes in the phonology of a language are motivated by the psychology goal of enhancing ease of articulation. If a sequence of sounds in a language is difficult to pronounce or is unnecessarily complex, it is likely to be simplified. Language often changes as a result of contact with speakers of another language. An important social force sometimes the speakers of one language conquer the speakers of another and impose the conquering language on the conqueror for a time. There's four factors why language changes. The first factor is phonology, and the second factor is morphology. The third factor is synthetic. The fourth factor is semantic. On the last topic is semantic. Semantic is also informed by other subdisciplines of linguistics, such as morphology, as understanding the words themselves is integral to the study of meaning. Meaning can be described as message, ideas, intention, commands, which are delivered and exchanged between speakers and audience. In semantic, we have two kinds of meaning sentence, meaning and speaker meaning. Sentence meaning is a literary meaning of a sentence, which is uttered by speaker. Meanwhile, speaker meaning is the intention of the speaker of in uttering the sentence. That's what I got from learning Introduction to Linguistics, but I personally found this class is an eye-opening class. I found so many new things that I never learned before in other class, such as the phenomena of why language disorder can become. So the cause of language disorder can divide into two, such as biological cause and the traumatic cause or the psychological cause and something like that. And I found this class is quite enjoying and This class is good. Is this class